I remember the exact moment my flesh first betrayed me. It was during the ascension ritual when the warp energy hit my body like a tidal wave of fire, and I felt my bones begin to crack and reform in ways that bones were never meant to move. The cult master was chanting words in a language that made my teeth ache, and I was screaming, but everyone just kept chanting louder. That was 15 seconds into my reward for 15 years of faithful service to the dark gods, and I already knew something had gone horribly wrong. My name is Marcus Thane, or it was Marcus Thane. I am not sure what I am anymore, or if names even matter for things like me. But before the ritual, before the transformation, before I learned what the dark gods really think of their faithful servants, I was just a man trying to survive on a forge world where survival meant choosing between two kinds of hell. I grew up in the lower levels of Forge World Metallica in Sector 7-4, where the air tasted like copper and machine oil and the temperature never dropped below 35 degrees even in the coldest months. My father worked the smelting pits for 40 years before the heat finally killed him. My mother died 2 years later from the black lung that everyone got eventually if they lived in the lower sectors long enough. My sister Elena disappeared when she was 16, taken by the Arbites for stealing food rations during a famine year. I never saw her again. The Imperium does not care if you starve. The Imperium does not care if you die choking on toxic fumes in a factory that has been running for 3,000 years. The Imperium cares that you meet your production quota and pay your tithes and die quietly when your usefulness ends. I learned that lesson early, and I learned it well. I was 23 when I first heard the whispers. Not voices in my head like you might think. Actual whispers from actual people in the abandoned cooling tower on the edge of Sector 7. A group of workers who met in secret after the third shift ended, who talked about gods that actually answered prayers, who showed me that the scars on their arms were not from accidents, but from rituals, who promised me that power was real and attainable if I was willing to pay the price. The price seemed reasonable at the time. A few prayers to entities whose names felt wrong in my mouth. Small rituals performed in darkness. The sacrifice of vermin and later of people who would not be missed in a hive city of 40 billion souls. In exchange, I received gifts. My left arm grew stronger over the course of months until I could bend steel bars with one hand. My eyes changed, so I could see perfectly in complete darkness, which was useful in the lower levels where the lumens failed constantly. My skin became tougher, harder to cut or burn. These were not wild mutations. These were controlled, earned, proof that I had been noticed by powers greater than the uncaring machinery of the Imperium. I rose through the ranks of our cult over 15 years. From initiate to brother to cell leader. I recruited 47 new members. I performed 23 major rituals. I corrupted an entire factory complex and turned its output toward the service of the dark gods. The Mechanicus never even noticed that the weapons we produced were subtly flawed in ways that would cause them to fail at critical moments. I was good at this. I was faithful. I believed in the promises. The cult master was a man named Vacan Hross. He had served the dark gods for 40 years, and his body showed it. His right arm was covered in eyes that blinked independently. His voice had a strange echo, as if two people were speaking slightly out of sync. He could make people believe anything he said just by looking at them with his too many eyes. When he walked, the air around him shimmered like heat rising from metal. He was proof that ascension was real, that service led to power, that the dark gods rewarded the faithful. 3 months ago, Vacan called me to his sanctum in the deepest part of the abandoned cooling tower. The room was 8 meters by 8 meters with walls covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly. The air smelled like burning hair and something sweet that made my stomach turn. 13 candles made from rendered human fat burned in a circle around an altar made of fused bones. He told me I had been chosen, that the dark gods had noticed my faithful service and decided to reward me, that I would undergo the ritual of ascension and emerge as something greater than human. A demon prince, an immortal champion who could lead armies and shape reality with a thought. He showed me visions of what I would become. Wings of shadow and fire, skin harder than ceramite, power that could level cities. I believed him. Why would I not believe him? He was living proof that ascension was possible, and I had earned this. 15 years of service, 47 recruits, 23 rituals, corruption of an entire factory complex. I had paid the price, and now I would receive the reward. The preparation took 3 weeks. I fasted for 7 days, eating nothing and drinking only water mixed with blood from sacrifices. I meditated in darkness for another 7 days, learning to open my mind to the energies of the warp. I performed rituals of dedication where I carved the symbols of the dark gods into my own flesh with a knife that had been blessed in ceremonies too dark to describe in detail. By the end of the 3 weeks, I was ready. My mind was open. My body was prepared. My faith was absolute. The ritual would take place in the ancient temple 3 kilometers below the Forge world's surface, a place that had existed since before the Imperium, a place where the barrier between reality and the warp was thin enough that power could flow through without restriction. 23 members of our cult would attend as witnesses. Vaken would perform the ceremony, and I would be transformed. I remember walking through the tunnels that led down to the temple. The walls were carved from black stone that seemed to absorb the light from our torches. The air grew warmer as we descended, and I could feel something pulsing beneath my feet like a heartbeat. The other cult members walked in silence behind me. Their faces showed a mixture of awe and something else. Something I should have recognized but did not. Fear. They were afraid. The temple was exactly as I had imagined it from Vaken's descriptions. A circular chamber 40 meters across with a domed ceiling that disappeared into darkness above. The floor was carved with a massive 8-pointed star, the symbol of chaos itself. Its points reached in all directions, showing how chaos touches everything, how it spreads through reality without limit or boundary. At the center of the star was a raised platform where I would stand during the ritual. The walls were lined with statues of things that might have been human once but had been transformed into shapes that made my enhanced eyes hurt to perceive. Candles burned everywhere, hundreds of them, thousands of them. The light they cast was wrong somehow, too red, too eager. The shadows they created moved independently of their flames. Vaken stood at the edge of the platform wearing robes made from flayed skin stitched together with wire, his many eyes all focused on me at once. "Brother Marcus," he said in his double voice, "you have served faithfully. You have earned this reward. The dark gods are pleased with your dedication. Tonight you will be reborn as something greater. Tonight you will leave behind the weakness of flesh and embrace the strength of chaos. Tonight you will ascend." I stepped onto the platform. My heart was racing with excitement and anticipation. This was everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed for. In moments I would be transformed. I would have the power to reshape reality. I would never be weak again, never hungry, never afraid, never at the mercy of forces I could not control. The other cult members formed a circle around the platform. They began to chant, words in a language that predated human speech. Words that made the air vibrate and the candle flames burn brighter. I could feel the warp energy beginning to gather. It pressed against reality like water against a dam. Building, growing, waiting to be released. Vaken raised his arms, the eyes on his right arm all opened wide. He spoke the final words of the ritual and the dam broke. Warp energy flooded the chamber. It hit me like a physical force and knocked me to my knees. I could feel it entering my body through every pore, through my mouth and nose and eyes, through the symbols I had carved into my flesh during the preparation. It burned. Not like fire burns, but like acid, like something that dissolved what I was and replaced it with something else. My bones began to crack. I felt my left femur snap and reform longer and thicker, then my right, then my spine, each vertebra breaking and fusing and breaking again. My ribs expanded. My skull started to change shape. The pain was beyond anything I had experienced, beyond anything I had imagined pain could be. I screamed, my voice echoed in the chamber, mixing with the chanting. I tried to stand, but my legs would not support me. My left arm, the one I had enhanced over years of service, began to twist. The muscles tore and regrew. The bones lengthened. My fingers fused together and split apart and fused again into something that was no longer a hand. This was wrong. This was not ascension. This was not the transformation Vaken had described. I tried to speak, tried to ask what was happening. But my jaw was dislocating. My tongue was growing larger. My teeth were falling out and new ones were pushing through my gums, sharp, irregular, too many. Through the pain and the changes, I heard something that made my fragmenting mind go cold. Laughter. Vaken was laughing. The other cult members were laughing. Their voices mixed with the chanting created a sound that was joyful and cruel and utterly without mercy. "The gods are pleased with your sacrifice, brother," Vaken said. "You have given them exactly what they wanted, not a champion, not a prince, but a spawn. A beautiful, wonderful chaos spawn. Your faithfulness has earned you eternal service in a form that pleases them greatly." Sacrifice. The word cut through the pain and the confusion. I was not being rewarded. I was being sacrificed. The 15 years of service had not been a path to power. They had been a path to this, to becoming a warning, a creature of pure chaos, a thing without purpose or control or hope. I tried to fight it, tried to resist the changes, but the warp energy was too strong. It was rewriting every cell in my body. My skin split open and new flesh grew underneath. Flesh that was wrong, that moved on its own, that formed shapes that should not exist. Eyes opened across my torso. Mouths formed on my back. Tentacles erupted from my shoulders and dissolved and regrew as claws and then as something without a name. My mind was fragmenting along with my body. Memories started to slip away. I tried to hold on to them, tried to remember my sister Elena, what she looked like, the sound of her voice. But the memory dissolved like smoke. I tried to remember my parents, the lower levels, the factory where I had worked, all of it fading, being replaced with hunger and rage and chaos. The last coherent thought I had as Marcus Thane was this: I chose wrong. I traded the Imperium's cruelty for something infinitely worse, and now I will pay the price forever. The transformation did not stop. My body continued changing. My right leg grew scales. The scales fell off. Gray hide replaced them. The hide split open. Muscle pulsed underneath with its own heartbeat, separate from the heart in my chest or hearts. I had more than one now. I was still on the platform. The chanting continued. Warp energy poured into the chamber. I could see it with my multiplying eyes. Purple, green, colors without names. It flowed like oil through water. Thick, wrong, hungry. My left arm was a tentacle now, thick as my thigh, covered in suckers that opened and closed like mouths. The tentacle moved without my control. It struck the floor. The stone cracked. Pain shot through me but mixed with something else. Pleasure, hunger. I could not tell them apart. Another arm pushed through my right shoulder, growing like a plant in fast motion. I felt every nerve form, every muscle weave together, every bone harden. The arm reached full length in seconds, 4 fingers, 2 thumbs, claws like black glass. My spine extended, each new vertebra locked into place. My torso pushed forward and down. My posture changed. I was becoming something that walked on 4 limbs. My hips rotated, my leg joints reversed. My feet split into hooves, then claws, then something that was neither. I was still conscious, but the thoughts were harder now. Slower, like trying to think through mud. I wanted to speak, wanted to beg them to stop, but my mouth would not work. New teeth were forming, my tongue had split into 3 pieces, my throat had spines that made breathing difficult. Sounds came out, screaming, roaring, wet gurgling from mouths I did not know I had. The sounds mixed with the chanting, a symphony of transformation. Vacan walked closer. His many eyes watched. His double voice spoke. "The dark gods are pleased, Brother Marcus. They have accepted your offering. You will serve them in this form. You will be their beast, their weapon, their proof that chaos rewards the faithful." I wanted to kill him. My tentacle moved, but not toward him. It struck the floor, struck the air, struck my own body. Each impact sent confusing signals: pain, pleasure, hunger. All mixed into one. My chest expanded, ribs multiplied, 6 became 8, 8 became 12, 12 became more than I could count. They caged organs that were changing. My heart split into 2 hearts, then 3. They beat at different rhythms, fast, slow. One that paused for long seconds. New organs grew between my ribs, behind my spine, in my pelvis. I did not know what they did. They just existed, pulsing, churning, making fluids that flowed through new vessels. My skin rippled like water. Patterns formed and dissolved. It grew thick like armor in some places, transparent in others. I could see muscle and bone beneath. Eyes opened across my torso, small ones, large ones, some with pupils, some without. They saw things I did not want to see, angles that should not exist, colors beyond normal. The warp, energy flowing through reality. 17 eyes. I counted them in a moment before the thought slipped away. 17 points of vision feeding my brain at once. My brain that was growing, splitting into sections. My thoughts were fragmenting, spreading across the new brain sections, becoming streams that did not connect. One part was animal instinct, hunger, rage, kill, feed. Another part tried to hold memory. Who I had been, what I wanted, why I joined. A third part just felt. No judgment, no thought, just sensation. My jaw broke, both sides. The lower half hung loose, then it reshaped, growing longer, wider, forward into a snout or beak, or neither. New joints formed. My jaw could open impossibly wide, wide enough to fit a human head. The animal part felt satisfaction, good for feeding, good for tearing flesh. Tentacles grew from my back, smaller, thinner, dozens, hundreds. They moved like snakes, reached out, touched the air, touched the platform, touched my body. Each touch sent information, temperature, texture, fields around living things. New senses humans did not have. The cult members stopped chanting. They watched in silence. Some looked excited, some terrified, some sick. One woman I had recruited turned and vomited. The sound and smell triggered something. Prey, weak, easy to kill. The thought came from the animal part. I tried to push it away, but the memory of her name was already gone. Her face was fading. My spine extended more. A tail grew, thick at the base, tapering to a point, bone spurs along its length. It moved on its own. Testing. It struck a statue. The stone cracked. Ancient stone that had stood for thousands of years. I was getting larger. The platform felt small. My limbs splayed out. My tentacles dragged on the floor. My tail swept in wide arcs. 3 meters tall, 4 meters long, maybe more. The platform cracked under my weight. My temperature fluctuated, burning one moment, freezing the next. Frost formed on my hide. My hearts pumped blood that was not just blood anymore, thicker, hotter, carrying warp energy, feeding my cells with power from beyond reality. More mouths formed, small ones with needle teeth, large ones with grinding molars, with tongues, without tongues. They opened and closed randomly. Some made sounds, screaming, laughing, speaking words I had never learned, voices that were not mine but came from my body. My original face was disappearing, buried under new growth. My nose flattened and spread, my cheeks split to accommodate my wider jaw. My forehead extended backward, my skull elongated. Only my original eyes remained recognizable among the 17. Still brown, still seeing normal colors. But they were crying. Tears ran down my distorted face, even though I was not sure. I could still feel sadness. A second head began growing from my left shoulder. pushing out like the extra arm. I felt the skull develop inside skin, felt brain tissue organize, the skin split, the head emerged. Smaller than my main head, reptilian, narrow snout, red eyes. It turned and looked at me. Our eyes met, two parts of one being. The smaller head opened its mouth and screamed. Vacant spoke again. You are beautiful, brother Marcus, beautiful and terrible. The dark gods have crafted you into a perfect instrument. You will spread their glory. You will corrupt the faithful and destroy the heretics. I wanted to tell him no. Wanted to explain this was horror, not glory. But I could not communicate. My mouth could not form words. My new mouths only screamed and growled. My brain was too fragmented to organize thoughts into language. Less human every second. Memories kept fading. Elena? What did she look like? Brown hair or black? Taken by Arbites or died in an accident? The details blurred, mixed with other memories that might not be mine. Smelting pit or grinding facility. Father died from heat or lung disease. Was my name Marcus? The questions had no answers. The only clear memory was 15 seconds before the ritual. Standing on the platform, excited, believing I would ascend. That memory stayed sharp, painful, the last moment of full humanity. My fragmenting brain would not let it go. My body was massive, 3 meters tall, 4 meters long, 500 kilograms or more. The platform cracked, my limbs dug into stone, my tentacles wrapped around edges, my tail swept and whooshed through air. The animal part was getting stronger. Overwhelming the parts that held memory and reason, the hunger was impossible to ignore. My mouths drooled, my tentacles reached toward the cult members. Close, so close. Close enough to grab, close enough to feed. The need filled my fragmenting consciousness. I tried to fight it, tried to hold on to Marcus Thane, tried to remember eating people was wrong. That I had been human. That these were people I knew. But hunger was too strong, not hunger for food, deeper, more fundamental. A need in every cell. Feed, grow, change, spread chaos. My tentacle lashed out. No control. It grabbed the young woman. She screamed, high, terrified. She tried to pull away. The suckers held tight. I pulled her toward my largest mouth, teeth like daggers. She was crying, begging. Speaking words I barely understood. Please, no. Marcus, please remember. A fragment of recognition flickered. I knew her, had recruited her, promised her something. What? The memory was there, but I could not reach it. The animal part did not care, only saw food, only the chance to satisfy hunger. I bit down. The taste exploded. Blood, meat, bone, terror. The most intense sensation ever. Better than any drug, better than any pleasure my human body knew. My mouth screamed in satisfaction. More, need more. Vacan raised his arms. Stop, he commanded. The spawn is not to feed on the faithful. Chain it, secure it, take it to the holding pens. The last threads of human thought were dissolving as they threw chains over me. Heavy chains, humming with power. They bit into my flesh. I roared. All, my mouths at once. But the chains held. Whatever power was in that metal was stronger than my strength. They dragged me from the platform, away from the temple, down into darkness where monsters belong. Darkness, stone, metal-biting flesh, hunger. The holding pen was rock, 20 meters across, symbols on walls that hurt to look at, a ring in the center. They chained me to it, wrapped me in metal that hummed, then left. Door closed like a tomb. Alone, but not alone. With myself, with the thing. My eyes saw in darkness, all 17, every crack in walls, every symbol, every chain link, and my body, the horror of it. My legs were gone, 4 limbs bent wrong directions, scales, hide, muscle. My torso pulsed and shifted, never still, never one shape. Tentacles from my back and sides, always moving, always searching, my tail thick as a man's body, covered in spurs that dripped fluid. The second head had its own thoughts. When I moved left, it wanted right. We fought for control. The result was twitching. Neither won. Mouths opened and closed. I had no control, screaming, laughing, biting air. One mouth on my chest spoke in a language I did not understand. Words flowed out. I listened to my voice say things I did not mean, could not stop, did not know. Hunger, still there, stronger, the taste of the woman fading. The animal part wanted more, needed more. Tentacles reached as far as chains allowed, searching for prey. Claws scraped stone, hearts beat faster. Time passed. Hours, days, could not tell. No light except the glow from symbols, no sound except what I made. Breathing from multiple lungs at different rhythms, hearts out of sync, wet sounds of flesh shifting, limbs against chains, fluids dripping to pool on floor. My mind kept fragmenting. The memory part was smaller, the animal part larger, the sensation part spreading like cancer. I tried to hold on to Marcus Thane pieces, but they slipped away. Elena, that was her name. I knew it was, but her face, gone, her voice, gone. She was taken by someone, maybe, or died. The memory was empty, replaced by hunger and rage and flesh changing. Why did I join the cult? There was a reason, important. Something about the Imperium, about power, but the details were gone. Just a vague sense of wanting something, being promised something, receiving something different. One memory stayed clear, the platform, feeling excited, believing I would become powerful. The last moment before betrayal, that stayed sharp, painful. The exact moment my life ended and this began. Food came, the door opened, bodies thrown in, dead, people who displeased Vacan, or failed, or were selected as feed. They threw bodies and slammed the door before I could reach with tentacles. Smart. Learning to be careful. Hunger took over when food arrived. The animal pushed everything else aside. I lunged as far as chains allowed. My jaws closed on the first body. The taste was incredible. Better than the woman because I was hungrier, because the animal was stronger. I devoured it in seconds. Bones and all, multiple mouths working together, tearing, grinding, swallowing. 3 more bodies. I ate them all. Fast, desperate. Tentacles grabbed the last. Pulled it to my largest mouth, bit down on skull. It cracked, contents spilled, my tongue lapped them up. Satisfaction was overwhelming. Hunger faded slightly. But it would come back. Always came back. After feeding, my body changed more. The flesh was incorporated into my mass, growing, getting larger. Chains had to be adjusted. More cult members came with more chains, moved carefully, far from reach. One got too close. My tentacle shot out, wrapped his ankle, pulled. He screamed, his friends grabbed him. We played tug of war with a human. My tentacle tore his foot off. He fell backward. They dragged him out, left the foot. I ate it, small, not satisfying, better than nothing. The second head was becoming independent, its own personality, more aggressive. When food came, it tried to eat first. We fought over bodies, snapping at each other. The second head bit my main neck, pain, sharp, mixed with pleasure. I bit back. We injured each other while bodies lay uneaten, eventually stopped and ate together. But conflict remained. 2 consciousnesses in one body, neither submitting, eyes kept multiplying. 23 now, on my back, on my tail, on limbs. Each saw differently. Some saw heat, some saw fields, some saw warp energy. My brain tried to process all at once. Too much. Images overlapped, contradicted. I saw the chamber from 23 angles. Result was confusion, disorientation. Reality fractured into pieces that did not fit. Mouths acted independently. Chest mouth speaking unknown language. Left shoulder mouth singing terrible song. No melody, random notes. Back mouth laughing constantly. Wet bubbling laugh, never stopped. Could not make them quiet. They were part of me but not under control. Sometimes moments of clarity came. Brief seconds when consciousness pulled together. Thought like human. In those moments I understood what happened, what I became. Horror crashed like a wave. Wanted to die, end this, but body would not let me. Survival instinct too strong, in every cell. Could not hurt myself enough. Any injury healed wrong, grew back changed, made me more monstrous. In one clear moment I tried to count feedings. Got to 17, lost track. 17 days, 17 weeks. Brain could not hold the number, could not maintain count through periods when animal took over completely. Cult members came to look sometimes, stood outside reach, watched, studied changes, took notes, discussed in clinical terms. Subject continues mutating, new appendages mass increasing 5% per week. Psychic resonance fluctuating, useful as shock troop pending conditioning. I was a weapon, a thing they created for purpose, no guilt, no remorse. Looked at me like a machine they built. Checking if it works, planning how to use it. Vacan came often, his eyes studied with satisfaction. His double voice spoke about development. The spawn progresses well, ready for deployment soon. The gods are pleased. I tried to speak during one visit. Make my mouth form words. Came out as roaring and clicking, not language. He tilted his head. Does it retain consciousness? Interesting. That makes suffering more acute. The gods favor suffering, makes chaos energy flow more freely. He knew, always knew, that consciousness survived, that I was trapped inside, aware but unable to control, suffering but unable to die. That was the point. That made me valuable. Not physical power, but eternal anguish of human consciousness trapped inside. Flesh continued changing between feedings. New limbs appeared, old ones merged or fell off. Tentacles grew longer, developed new capabilities. Some secreted acid. Some had spurs that pierced steel. Some split at ends into smaller tentacles, hide thickened, became transparent, organs migrated, spine curved, straightened. Curved different direction. Only constant was change. Nothing stayed same for more than hours. Becoming chaos personified. Living example of what happens when biology is abandoned. DNA being rewritten constantly by warp energy. Each cell a battlefield, reality and unreality fighting. Animal part was winning. Controlled most actions. Hunger, aggression, need to hunt and kill and feed. Human part reduced to tiny voice in back. Screaming, always screaming, unable to affect anything, unable to control smallest action, passenger in own body. Watching through 23 eyes as instinct drove me to do things that horrified the fragment of Marcus Thane. During one feeding I recognized a face. One body was someone I knew. Had known. Tarek. I recruited him 8 years ago. Throat cut, blood dry. Dead before feeding. But I recognized his face, remembered his name, recruiting him from the manufactory. Human part screamed not to eat him. Person. Someone I knew. Eating him would cross a line. But animal did not care about lines, did not care about names or memories or humanity. Saw only food. Jaws closed on Tarek. I ate him. All of him. While tiny human part wept at what I was doing. After that, feeding the human part grew smaller. Recognition of Tarek was last connection to old life, last thread to Marcus Thane. When I ate him, I ate that connection. Now almost nothing left. Just hunger and rage and flesh changing and knowledge buried deep that I was once different. Better. But details gone, memories gone, person gone. I was chaos spawn. That was existence. That was purpose. That was all I would be until something destroyed me. Years, decades, centuries. Spawns did not die of age, did not die of injury that killed normal creatures. They existed until something powerful enough destroyed them completely. In this pen 3 levels below temple I might exist very long time. Only hope the tiny human part held was eventual deployment. Use me as weapon, send me to battle. Maybe something out there strong enough to end this, kill me properly. Grant mercy of death, small hope, probably false, all I had left. Time had no meaning, just endless cycle, hunger, feeding, changing, brief flashes of human awareness drowning in ocean of bestial instinct. This was eternity, this was punishment for seeking power. This was what chaos gives to faithful servants. Door opened, Vacan entered with cult members, weapons, autoguns blessed with corruption, blades weeping blood. They kept distance. Vacan raised hands, spoke words that shimmered air. Chains loosened, fell away. First time in weeks or months I was free. Animal parts surged. Freedom meant hunting. Hunting meant feeding. I lunged toward nearest cult member, tentacles reached, jaws opened. But Vacan spoke another word. Pain shot through entire body. Every nerve fired, I collapsed. Mass hit floor, stone cracked. Pain continued 10 seconds like hours, then stopped. You will obey, Vacan said in double voice. Binding ritual gives control over actions. You go where commanded, kill what commanded, feed when allowed. Disobey and pain returns. Worse, understand creature, could not answer with words. Mouths would not form them, but some part understood. Tiny human fragment buried deep, grasped meaning. Not just monster. Slave. Weapon pointed at targets I had no say in. Animal part did not care about slavery, only cared feeding would come eventually. Human part screamed silently at injustice, betrayed, transformed, now enslaved to man who orchestrated it. They led me through tunnels, up towards surface. Journey took hours. Massive body barely fit passages meant for humans. Had to crawl. Tentacles pulled forward. Limbs scraped walls. Tail dragged, leaving fluid trail. Past checkpoints. Other cult members stared with fear and awe. Word of spawn spread. They knew what I was, what I represented. Proof chaos rewarded faithful with transformation. We emerged in abandoned section of Forge World upper levels, empty buildings, dead factories, streets no one walked. Cult territory. Place Imperium forgot or ignored. Around me gathered more heretics than I knew existed. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Filled streets, stood on rooftops, watched from broken windows, preparing for war. Weapons distributed, supplies loaded on trucks. Chaos symbols painted on walls and vehicles. Not small cult operation, an army. And I was shock troop. Monster unleashed on Imperium defenders. Vacan climbed platform made from crates. Voice amplified. Brothers and sisters of true faith. For decades we hid in shadows, pretended loyalty to false emperor, paid tithes to regime that despises us, but no longer. Dark gods showed favor, granted strength. He gestured toward me, behold the spawn, proof of their power. Tonight we strike Arbite's fortress, tonight we burn heart of imperial authority, tonight we begin liberation of Metallica. Crowd cheered, thousands of voices raised in worship. Chanted names that hurt to hear. Korn, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slanesh. 4 powers ruling warp. Entities that transformed me. Crowd fervor fed something in my body. Warp energy intensified, flesh rippled with mutation. 5th limb burst from side. 2nd head roared with voices not entirely my own. March to Arbite's fortress took 3 hours. Moved through abandoned sectors, no Imperium presence. Cult planned carefully. Chose, routes avoiding detection. Reached fortress walls, deep night. Shift change, guards most vulnerable. Fortress was massive rockcrete. Walls 10 meters high. Guard towers at corners, gates steel thick enough to stop tank. Housed 300 Arbites. Emperor's law enforcement, people who took my sister decades ago. Or maybe false memory, could not tell. Vacan gave command. Attack began. Cultists with rocket launchers fired at gates. Explosions lit night. Alarms blared inside. Lights came on. Arbites rushed to positions, had weapons, training, armor. But not prepared for what came next. Vacan pointed at me. Kill, he commanded, feed, destroy them all. Binding ritual forced me forward. Not that I needed forcing. Animal part waiting for this. Gates damaged but not destroyed. I hit them full speed. Mass crashed into steel and rockcrete. Impact sent shockwaves through body. Gates buckled, bent inward, hit again, again. 4th impact they collapsed, through. Courtyard filled with Arbites. Opened fire immediately. Lasguns, shotguns, stubbers. Weapons for maintaining order. Shots hit mass from every direction. Most bounced off thickened hide. Some penetrated, found soft flesh, drew blood. Pain mixed with pleasure. made me roar with all mouths, made me charge forward with increased fury. Tentacles lashed out, grabbed nearest Arbites, pulled him toward largest mouth, screaming, fighting, firing shotgun into my jaws. Shots hurt, not enough. Bit down, armor crumpled, body came apart, taste exploded across senses. Living prey, fighting prey, better than dead bodies in holding pen. Animal consciousness took over completely. Tiny human fragment could only watch through 23 eyes. Killed 6 more in courtyard. Claws tore through armor, tail swept 3 into wall hard enough to break bones. Acid tentacles melted flesh and metal together. Jaws crushed and tore and consumed. Around me cultists poured through broken gates, attacked with crude weapons and fervor. Arbites better trained, better equipped, but outnumbered 10 to 1. Battle spread through fortress, room by room, hall by hall. I was at front, too massive to stop with normal weapons, too twisted to die from injuries killing normal creatures. Took damage, lost burns covered hide, bullets lodged in flesh, grenade took off smaller tentacle. But none stopped me. Body healed wrong, grew new limbs for lost ones, continued changing in middle of combat. In one chamber encountered Arbite's sergeant, older, scarred, professional, carried power maul crackling with energy. Saw me, did not run, did not show fear, simply attacked. Maul hit main head with force to crack bone, pain incredible, white-hot, disorienting. Second head snapped at her. She dodged, rolled, came up swinging. Maul hit torso, burned through flesh, found organs beneath. Roared and grabbed with 3 tentacles, lifted off ground. She kept fighting, kept swinging even as tentacles tightened, kept trying to hurt me even knowing she would die. Something in her eyes, not fear, not hatred, determination, duty. Doing her job until moment my jaws closed around her. Taste was different, not just meat and blood, something else. Will, courage, qualities I lost when I became this. Tiny human part recognized them, mourned their absence, felt shame consuming someone with more humanity in death than I had in continued existence. Pushed deeper into fortress, Arbites fell back to defensive positions, set up kill zones with overlapping fire, but cultists kept coming, wave after wave, willing to die for gods. Using bodies to shield spawn as I smashed barricades, unstoppable, inevitable. Force of nature made from corrupted flesh. In command center found family, woman, 2 children, 8 and 10 years old, hiding under desk while battle raged. Woman not Arbites, just worker, administrative staff, held children close, whispered prayers to Emperor. Begged him to save them, send angels to stop monsters, protect innocent. Emperor did not answer. I did. Tentacles reached under desk. Woman screamed, pushed children behind her, trying to shield with body. Animal part saw only prey. 3 targets, easy kills. Hunger demanded feeding. But tiny human fragment that was Marcus Thane fought back, tried to stop, tried to pull tentacles away. For one moment thought I might succeed, might prove something human remained. Then Vacan's binding activated. Pain shot through nervous system, command absolute, kill, feed, destroy. Body obeyed even as fragmented consciousness screamed, grabbed woman first, pulled from children, screams mixed with theirs, killed her fast, 1 bite, then children. Animal part took satisfaction from feeding, human part shattered completely. Whatever tiny fragment of Marcus Thane survived to this moment died with those children, not body. That continued. But last piece of human consciousness that clung to hope, to possibility of redemption, to belief some part remained good, that died. What remained was pure chaos spawn, no humanity, no memories worth remembering, just hunger and violence and flesh changing. Everything I feared becoming, everything Imperium warned about with chaos corruption. Cautionary tale made real. Monster wearing ruins of human shape. Fortress fell within 4 hours. Surviving Arbites retreated to final position and died there. 300 defenders reduced to corpses scattered through blood-soaked halls. Cultists celebrated victory, praised dark gods, painted symbols using blood. set fires burning for days. Vacan stood in command center and declared this first step liberating entire Forge world from Imperial control. But liberation would not come. Something in fragmenting mind knew this even if cultists did not. Imperium would respond, send space marines or guard or inquisitors, cleanse world of chaos, taint with fire and fury. Kill every cultist, destroy everything built. Imperium was slow and cruel and uncaring but unstoppable. This victory temporary. Meaningless in context of galaxy-spanning war raging 10,000 years. And I would be part of that war. Deployed wherever Vacan commanded, sent against enemies he chose. Killing for gods I once worshipped from desperation. Now served as mindless weapon. This was existence. This was eternity until something powerful enough finally destroyed me completely. More battles, more killing, more feeding, body continuing changing, growing more monstrous each day. Chaos energy flowing through me would never stop mutating flesh. Looked at reflection in polished metal panel. Saw what I became through 23 eyes. Massive tentacles and limbs and heads and mouths. 4 meters tall, 6 meters long. Covered in blood and burns and scars healing wrong. Eyes everywhere, mouths everywhere, flesh moving independently. Shape that hurt to look at. Violated every law of biology, every expectation of living things. This was reward for 15 years' faithful service. What dark gods gave those seeking power? Not ascension to demon prince, not glory and immortality. Just transformation into beast, weapon. Thing existing only to spread chaos and suffering while experiencing eternal agony. Joke was perfect, cruelty exquisite. Somewhere in warp, dark gods were laughing. Other spawns existed across galaxy, thousands, maybe millions, each containing fragment of consciousness, each aware enough to suffer but not enough to hope. We were chaos made manifest. Price paid by those foolish enough to believe power came without cost, that dark gods rewarded ambition, that any path through chaos did not end in corruption and horror. I would exist like this for centuries, maybe longer. Fighting battles I did not choose, killing people I did not hate, feeding hunger never-ending, body continuing changing forever, new limbs appearing, old ones merging, organs migrating, flesh rippling, reality and unreality fighting in every cell. And through it all, tiny spark of awareness remained. Just enough to understand what I lost, what I became, what I would be until something finally granted mercy of destruction. Cultists chained me again after battle, led back to holding pens below temple, fed me bodies of fallen Arbites, prepared for next deployment. I ate, I changed, I existed, no escape, no hope, no mercy. Just endless transformation and violence and suffering stretched across eternity until something powerful enough ended me. Chaos spawn did not die of age, did not succumb to most injuries. They continued until overwhelming force destroyed them completely, in holding pen beneath Forge world that might be very long time indeed. This is what it means to be turned into chaos spawn in Warhammer 40K. Not clean death, not glorious transformation. Just existence as monster that might last centuries. Conscious enough to remember being human once, aware enough to mourn what was lost, alive enough to experience every moment of horror, but unable to die easily, unable to stop, unable to do anything except serve. Dark gods who created you and laugh at suffering. I wanted power and received powerlessness. I wanted transcendence and received degradation. I wanted escape from Imperium's cruelty and found something infinitely worse. Imperium kills its failures. Chaos preserves them as warnings. And in darkness of my prison with chains wrapped around changing flesh and hunger burning in multiple mouths, I finally understood truth. Emperor protects his servants by granting death eventually. Dark gods torture theirs by making that mercy nearly impossible to achieve.